Welcome, my name is Lexi and today I'm going to be showing you how to install a floppy disk drive. This is your floppy disk drive. Your floppy disk drive is used for floppy disks. A floppy disk is a type of disk storage composed of thin and flexible magnetic storage medium sealed in a rectangular plastic carrier lined with fabric that removes dust particles. In order to access the internal components, we must first open the case. With this specific computer case, we must pull the latch mechanism to unlatch the cover to access the inside. With older computer cases, they may have screws to secure the side covers. I am going to lay the computer on its side so that I may properly work in it and give a better view. Before I can actually start working inside my computer, I must first ground myself. I can ground myself by touching an unpainted metal surface or wearing an ESD wrist strap. The purpose of doing one of these things is to make sure I don't cause damage to the computer or myself. In this specific case, I will be touching an unpainted metal surface because I am installing a floppy disk drive. If I were to install a CPU or a power supply, I would indeed need to wear an ESD strap. This is the front panel. The floppy disk drive will be inserted into any open 3.5-inch slot on the front panel. You want to remove the plastic covering first by simply pulling the latch on the inside, which is commonly blue. You pull it in the direction that the arrow is pointing, then pull the black plastic covering off. To install our floppy disk drive, I will be using a mini Molex connector and a floppy ribbon cable that has 34 pins to connect the floppy drive to the computer. So now that we've discussed the cable and connector that we will be using to connect the floppy disk drive, it's time to actually install it. First, I will start by turning my floppy disk drive upright. I have this little button right here facing towards the bottom of the computer case so that it may go in easier and correctly. So when you're installing your floppy disk drive, you first want to start by inserting it. Before you can insert any further, when the first screw starts to go in, you have to take the blue latch and push it so that it can continuously go in easily, and then you'll release again and repeat with the second screw. So now that we've got our floppy disk drive inside the computer, it's time to connect it. I will first start by connecting the floppy connector. The floppy connector goes right here on the back of the floppy drive. Make sure you push it in tightly so that it's secure. Now that we've gotten our floppy connector connected, it's time to connect the mini Molex. The mini Molex connector will be connecting on the top of the floppy disk drive right here. When connecting the mini Molex connector, you will be connecting it to where these 4 pins will be going into these 4 holes right here. So when you connect it, make sure that the back of this connector will be touching the back of this. Now that we've properly installed our floppy disk drive, we must reattach the front panel cover. To reattach the front panel cover, we will take the 3 angled prongs and angle them into the computer in these 3 spaces, lift up and push it in. Then after reattaching the front panel cover, we will reattach our computer case cover. To do so, you will also put this in at an angled position and push down. Now you know how to install your floppy disk drive. Once you've properly installed your floppy disk drive, you must connect your computer to your monitor. So now that you've installed your floppy disk drive, it's time to connect your monitor to your computer. This is called the backplane. These are your backplane ports. In the backplane, you will be connecting the 2 USB connectors, 1 VGA connector, and 1 power connector. This is the USB connector for the keyboard, and it goes in right here. And this is the connector for the mouse, and it goes right beside right there. Okay. So now that we've connected our keyboard and our mouse, it's time to connect our VGA connector. The VGA connector will be going into this VGA port right here. The VGA port is also known as the DB15, and it's the only DB15 port that has 3 rows. So to connect our VGA connector, you will just simply turn it to where this part matches up with this so that it may go in easily, and you simply just push it in slightly, and then you start twisting these screws into the side so that it becomes secure. Now that we connected all of our connectors, it's time to turn on the computer. You just simply turn on the computer by pressing the power button. And then once the computer is turned on, you wait, and before it completely sets up, you'll get a memo. Press F2 to go to setup. Once you've pressed F2 after turning on your computer, it will take you to the utility setup. This is where we will see if our drive has been recognized and where we will have to turn on our floppy disk drive. So in order to navigate the utility setup, we will be using our keyboard. The main keys on the keyboard that we will be using is the escape key, the enter key, and the 4 direction keys. So first we will start by going down to our boot sequence by pressing the down key. As you can see right here, our floppy drive has not been recognized. So in order to turn on our floppy drive, we will need to go down to drives and press the enter key to expand the menu and go to diskette drive. On here, our floppy drive is also known as our diskette drive. Now we will press enter again so that we may go over and turn on our floppy disk drive. Your floppy drive can be connected by USB internally or can be read-only. Our floppy drive is internal, so once it's on internal, press enter. So now that we've set our drive for internal, we now need to save our changes. We will save our changes by pressing the escape key and then going over to save and exit. That will also restart the computer. So after the computer restarts, you will get the memo up in the corner again, and you will press F2 once again. So once we've saved our changes for our floppy disk drive, we now need to see if it has been recognized. We may do so by once again going down to the boot sequence. As you can see, our floppy drive has now been recognized. Now I'm going to show you how to uninstall your floppy disk drive. Once again, you're going to start by pulling the latch mechanism, laying the computer down on its side. Now we are going to ground ourselves before we even start working in the computer. And remember, we're going to touch and untouch the metal surface. Okay. So now we want to remove the front panel plastic cover by pulling the blue latch and gently pulling it out. Now we are going to start by gently pulling out the mini mullets connector. It's important to remember to pull it out by the heart piece and not by the wires. That can damage the connector. Now we are going to be removing the floppy connector. This particular floppy connector does have a handle so that we don't have to pull it by the wire. So just gently pull it out. So to take out the floppy disk drive, we will repeat the same process that we did putting it in, except kind of doing it backwards. Instead of pushing it in, we'll be pulling it out. So we'll start by pushing the blue latch and then start slightly pushing the floppy disk drive through. Release the latch, push the latch once again, and release. And your floppy drive is now out. So now that the floppy disk drive has been removed, it's time to reattach the front panel cover. Once again, you will put it in at an angled position into these 3 spaces, lift up, and push it in. After reattaching the front panel, you then will reattach the side case cover. Once again, you put it in at an angled position, and then you gently push down. Now you know how to uninstall your floppy disk drive.